Good evening, I'm Amadin Ogbewe. Now here at Kaftan TV, we've done our best to bring you all the presidential candidates for the 2023 general election. Tonight I'm joined by yet another one of these to speak on his manifesto and his plans for Nigeria. I'm joined by one who is said to be the youngest candidate this election cycle. I'm talking about none other than the presidential candidate of the Accord Party, Professor Christopher Imumolen. He joins me tonight to speak on his ambition for the highest office in the land. All right, Professor Christopher Imumolen, welcome to Top Talk.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Welcome. All right, before we start, there's an obvious record you already have this election cycle that people want to know about. You're the youngest candidate running for presidency this election cycle, but somehow you're still the only one, if I'm not mistaken, who's a professor, Professor Christopher Imumolen. What can you tell us about that? How did that come about?
No, I don't think I'm the only one who is a professor, though I'm the youngest.
Okay.
We still have some, maybe 1 or 2 persons in the race who also are professor, but I'm the youngest and I'm the youngest professor in the race. And that is attributed to the fact that I am a believer of and a lover of education. I have invested so much of my life into educating myself and people around me. You know, as you can see, if you check what I've done privately, cover my huge investment in education from the primary, secondary to the university. And as I continue to invest physically in education on people, I also invest in myself. Because I believe that one of the biggest and major tools that can actually liberate a man's mind towards the realization of innovation, technology, and becoming what you should be, you know, it's education. When we educate ourselves, we educate our mind. And the more we go for knowledge, the more we get education. So me being a professor was just because of my quest to know, my quest to wanting to know why. And you know, like Aristotle said, he said the beginning of the question why is fundamentally the beginning of knowledge. You know, the differentiation, what differentiates man and animal is that animal would see and they know, but a human being should ask why. And when you ask why, you get to know more. So that why has brought me to the educational programs I've attained.
All right, it's very obvious from your past interviews, your press conferences, and basically people who try to find out about you know how education-centric your plan for the country is. So we'll get much deeper into that as the program continues. But let's start with another issue that people believe would stop any plan that, you know, any presidential candidate has, which is the issue of insecurity. And people might wonder, as someone who's so versed in education, what will you be bringing differently? And just to lay down the way things are, just about a week or 2 ago, there was an attack on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And a lot of people were surprised because there are places that, even though we have insecurity, people still feel these places are safe. They can't touch us here. And we're finding out every day that these places are not as safe as we thought. Also taking it back to the attack on at Owo, you know, the church. And it was done by, you know, terrorists who are predominantly active in another part of the country. And it seems like they want to expand. So the issue here is that insecurity as it is not, or security as it is not the best. And possibly by the time you are coming into power, if you should win the election in 2023, things might not be even as quote-unquote good as it is now. So what's your plan now, and also your plan to tackle it however it may be come 2023?
Okay, the insecurity challenge in Nigeria is multifaceted. And we've gotten to a point, even those that have deep knowledge in military and security management now find it difficult to solve, because to solve the insecurity problem we have in Nigeria is not just basically about one that have experience in military or security management, because the progeny and the root cause of insecurity by itself is economics. It's not security. It's about how do we give safety to the people, how do we reduce the economic hardship on the people, how do we educate our Nigerian people the more, how do we provide a government that is for all, that is true federalism, How do we strengthen our judiciary system? How do we ensure that our institutions that are so weak begin to strengthen? How do we create a system for Nigerians to be able to interpret even the the Constitution to daily life? It's about that. It's not just about we getting more weapons. Yes, it's good we are going to get more weapons. It's good we are going to invest in security gadgets to secure ourselves more. But if we don't fix the root cause of insecurity, the weapon will get to the hands of the bandits, which of course is what we currently see. The problem with insecurity is safety, not fighting security. This is largely what many leaders have not been able to know. They just feel, okay, we're going to solve security, we're going to get more weapons. We will be investing more in technology. For today, we don't have, the world is talking about light-scale satellites. We only have 2 up there. One is expired, the other is not working. We live in a country where we want to get information. We still need to pay Chinese and other countries to feed us with technical information. Our president, senators are using MTN. The world is working and fighting against information security, but Nigeria is far back. So we begin to run a new kind of, technological that works with AI, artificial intelligence. We begin to monitor our people. When in 2019, when the US had an attack, they drafted a policy called Homeland Security, where everybody was suspect. They made sure that security was focused on every American. We need to begin to devolve power to neighborhood security to ensure that Nigerians are involved in securing Nigerians. So the approach to fighting security for me is holistic. It's not just what is happening now, it's beyond that. A country like Nigeria that have over 95.7 million people living in poverty, you cannot fight poverty, you cannot fight insecurity. A country whose borderline are not guided, we have 1,400 borderline, 83 is only guided. Our borderlines are porous. In Borno, in countries that have lines with Chad and Niger and the rest of them, light weapons and arms are being shipped in through camel, through tankers. So we need to start looking at everything that has led us to where we are. We need to start providing jobs for Nigeria. We need to start digitalizing our economy. So all this thing would, at the end of the day, help to reduce insecurity. That is it. It's not just about what am I going to do. I talk to a lot of people. They say, I will make sure that we send warriors, we send war, we send military. We are going to do all those things. But believe me, you will kill your people if you don't tackle security, all right? So this insecurity, it's a child of so many children that are left unfed. Look at the Amadin system in the north, where children at about 4 years is left to walk on the street with no care. And some of them are recruited into these bandits. Bandits in the north is now like the new oil and gas job. A country that have no job. The other day, our president was attacked in Kaftan. Kaftan is a population of 4.9 million with not less than 10 industries. Where would the youth get job? When the youth of a nation do not have what to do with their hands, they begin to look for alternatives. So whatsoever is available is what they're going to do. It's like osmosis and diffusion. They will tilt in the line of the ease. So we must build an economy that can provide jobs for our youth. The very youth who are the one used as a tool to destroy the nation through bandits. Because you look at those bandits, they are youth. They are from 17, 20 something years. You could hardly see men of 50 years, 60 years. They are young guys. And that is how a country works. If they don't have their hands doing, they are going to tilt towards the direction of whatsoever called survival. So it's also part of survival. Yes, we must, as government, be responsible to our first primary assignment is to provide security, lives and property, to provide employment. So we have to look at all these things. So once we run a sincere government that is ready to tackle these multifaceted issues, you gradually see that the only insecurity you're going to see are those insecurities that are caused by that are fomented by political reason, ethnic reason, clashes. Of course, those ones can be handled. But what we are faced with in Nigeria today are insecurity that is garnished majorly due to economic hardship.
Right. From what you've said now, two things I'd really like to get some clarification on. You mentioned true federalism and also bringing the security to the neighborhoods. Would you be considering, or are you for state policing and, restructuring in that sense. Is that something you would push for? Or do you believe the federal or, the center has the power to fix everything?
Okay, let me say this. The next president of Nigeria will be faced with the toughest job ever. Because we've gotten to a point we've never been to. We've gotten to a point of, I don't know what will be worse than this. Dollar is in the black market, maybe by the end of the month. I'm not praying. I don't want it to happen as a patriotic Nigeria. I wouldn't want that. But with the way it's going, we might be having dollar at 2000, 2005. Every day is like an auction. It's getting increasing. So what I'm trying to say, we need a president that have wisdom, who will be able to balance the reality on ground. I'm not going to be part of those that will say, because I want to impress people. So I'm going to, yes, there will be state policing, there will be this because people want it. But can we manage it? What we want, look at the state of Nigerian people. So many aspects of Nigeria is clamoring for division. We are at a point whereby if you do, I always say this, that Nigeria is a polygamous union. What is done to one must be done to all. It's a polygamous union of 6 wives. What is done to one is done to all. So if we are going to have state policing, are you saying those parts that are clamoring for division, are you still going to give them? Or you say, okay, let them wait. Let's first answer those who are not really clamoring. We are in a state whereby what we need to do first is to harmonize Nigeria. Let's bring Nigeria together. Let's make everybody feel to be part of this Nigeria entity. We need the national convert begin, where all Nigerians will be brought to the table and bring all of us back to Nigeria. When we get to that point of safety, I believe so much in state policing. I believe so much that security should be dissolved to state and local government, down to the grassroots. I believe so much. But what is happening, the division we have in Nigeria today, if any leader comes in and do that first, believe me, you are going to divide Nigeria the more. But we are going to do that. But first, let's put Nigeria together. Those who are clamoring for division in the east, in the north, in the southwest of Nigeria, we need to bring everyone together. And before you also do that, there must be we must redraft most of our security policies and constitution, so that governors and those who are in charge of security will not take it off totally for their personal advantage. It must be done well for the interest of the Nigerian people, in a way that security, which is the aim of doing it, will be achieved. Not to allow, you see what is happening in some states now, where some state governors are already taking laws into hands. They're trying to control, to block federal government from having access into their state. All these things must be put together. Then at the best time, I haven't seen that Nigeria has come to that point, then that will be followed.
All right, that's fair enough. You've already pointed out that the security problem is deep-rooted, leading all the way back to economic problems. So let's move over to the economy now. What's your plan for that? And I'd just like to read out some numbers here. Nigeria's debt servicing surpassed revenue in the first quarter of the year. We have 1.93 trillion naira on debt servicing. This is about 20% higher than the retained revenue pegged at 1.6 trillion naira. Now, recently there's been an argument online and in everywhere else about the manner in which the economy can be saved. Some persons are saying they need to save more. Others are saying you can't save with the way Nigeria is now. And now we have the issue with the debt servicing, where we're not making as much as we have to pay back, and people are saying we still have to borrow. The former central bank governor said recently that one of the first things the next president has to do is, look at NNPC and what's going on there with the subsidy and all that. So what's your plan for the economy? Because like you've said, a big issue, the insecurity is a spiraling effect of the economy with the dollar and all that. So where will you get the funds to do anything? And, how do you fix the situation? Okay,
I am the youngest, I'm smart, I'm a technological professor. I understand how to fix and design a system. One of our biggest challenges as a nation is that we run a country without a system. And when you run a country, a large country, Nigeria is 220 million, about population is bigger than all that West African country put together. It's huge, so it's a huge country. If you run a country like Benin Republic or Togo without so much system, it's okay, but not Nigeria. When any organization becomes complex, when they become so big, without a system, everything collapses. So that is where we are. We do not have a system to monitor, to drive our economy, to checkmate what we're doing, to know what we're doing, where we are. So what I'm going to be doing first is to digitalize major, I might not be able to in the first 4 years digitalize all the economy, but major activities. One of them is revenue, how we bring in revenue. Because one, Nigeria generates so much. If only we can capture all that we generate, believe me, we have so much money. The problem we have is that we have Nigerians fund divided, shared into individual pockets. Yes, that is the truth. So what we must do, and that will always happen if there's no system. Look at what is being said in the NNPC, that some group of people, facts, sell crude oil without even government permission. The money goes to their private account. So we must create a window, or we must cover all the windows and create a system to capture our revenue. If we are able to capture 90% of our revenue to our pocket, that is already a huge amount of money that can save the economy. How? Okay, look at power, for example. We're talking about power, that Nigerians have a deficit in power. We generate 4,000 megawatts in a country that needs about 100,000 megawatts to service the 45 million household we have in Nigeria. With a population of 200, we have 45 million household about. And we cannot do that. And every year we budget so much in power. Let me ask you, are you aware that Nigeria pay, tariff that Nigeria pay on electricity, every household, pay on in a year we generate about $2 billion. Where is the money going to? Nobody's talking about that money. That alone is enough to service the power sector without budgeting so much on power sector. So once we're able to cover the loopholes, and that can only happen when you create a system, corrupt men and women would not want such system to work. But we are going to fight hard, we are going to work with wisdom, to make sure that this system works. So that what we are generating in customs, what we are generating in power, what we are generating in petrol, gas, even in education, so many sectors would come into government cover. Number one. Number two, we need a president who have deep knowledge in wealth management. That is where I come in. Wealth management, privately, we have been able to show that we need to make Nigeria a wealthy country. We need to begin to service our civil servants. We need to make them work. We need to make them productive. We need to begin to harness our mineral resources. We have more than 4,000 unexplored mineral resources in Nigeria. We only focus on crude oil, and some other states that explore are done. Over 80% of our mineral resources are explored illegally all across Nigeria. And that can only happen when we begin to digitalize our country. Do you know that even the light scale satellites can help you identify where your mineral is, where the illegal exploration is happening in your country? You see a Chinese man come from Chinese, go to a village in Ogbewe and start digging for gold. You will ask yourself, how did he know? You can get it through satellite just by interpretation of data underneath the earth crust. You know what you have. We must scientifically drive our nation. So you need a president that can create wealth for your country. What federal government must be doing? Identify resources, harness resources, support states to sell, not probably regulate it for states. And every state will be prosperous again. Digital savvy, technology. Once you involve, you empower the youths in education and technology. That alone brings so much money. I belong to a group of international youth who understand this. For example, a Nigerian recently sold the app. A Nigerian sold the app to Apple for $1 billion. Just one Nigeria. So the app called Upstop to Apple $1 billion. $1 billion is about 800 billion naira. Some states in Nigeria cannot generate that in the next 100 years. You can see, and that's just an individual. Imagine what that can happen if Nigerians are really empowered in their mind, the number of work they can bring in legitimately. There's so much money everywhere, but you need a leader who can see it, monitor it, make it happen, and navigate it through the economy. So that's what we're going to be doing, making sure that the loopholes that we currently have in our revenue is covered. That can only happen through digital economy and creating a system, making sure that we also work with the states to ensure that states and federal government parastatals, MDAs, have begin to be productive and encouraging them to cite how wealth can be done, creating a nation that understands wealth management. Yeah.
All right. Again, we have to point back to one of your most obvious characteristics, which is that you are the youngest. A lot of these things you're saying, do you envision any difficulty in terms of, because this is Nigeria, the other day we had a conversation with the former Minister of Sports and Development, Youth Development, Solomon Dalong, who is, I believe, over 50. And he said that in the political scene, he's still considered a child, as old as he is. So I wonder, how will you be able to, fight these people? Let's talk about oil thefts going on. We've seen that it has been going on from the sources and stories we are hearing and the reports that the pipelines have been there for years, and basically the amount being stolen is so astronomous that it's not comparable to what is actually being obtained, and we're only just seeing some of these being resurfaced. So I wonder, as being a young person, do you see that as any handicap as to how you can relate to people who believe that they own the country now and they've captured every aspect of it?
Okay, let me say this. I'm not fighting anyone. We're only trying to save our nation. And in doing that, we must be very focused at doing that. And let me tell you, those who you have mentioned are not up to 1% of the Nigerian population. They are less. They are not up to 10, 20,000 people. They are far less. So in a nation of 200 million, so what we must do is to have a president or a leader with a sincere heart, with a plain heart, who is not with them and pretending as if he's not. Who is with them and pretending as if he's not with them. So when such person wants to create policies that will favor the masses, they're going to strike him. What you need is a leader who is with the masses, who creates policies for that benefit the general masses, who is not corrupt, who is there just to save the country. Once that happens and the Nigerian people begin to see benefits and begin to see that, wow, this leader is for us, because those group of people you mentioned are a representative of the Nigerian people, either in the House of Rep, House of Assembly, ministers, whatever they are. But once the people start getting, it's just like having a company and you have distributors that distribute to the people. One of the things that Elon Musk did in his business model was to cut out the distributor chain in automobile company in the US, and it was servicing the people directly. The distributors in America rose up against him, but today he made him richer and he made the people okay, because he was able to cut out that distribution, that monopoly in the automobile business. That is also what you're talking about. We are going to break that happen, and we'll be relating with the Nigerians directly. And when that happens, when the few 1% of people rise against you, believe me, the 99% of Nigerians who now see true benefit will rise against them. It's a natural phenomenon. And why these people would do what they do is not because they are practically wicked. Let me explain to you. Why those 1% people still eat, it's not because they are wicked. No. Because there is room for it. There's no system to monitor. Nobody's asking them question. Believe me, even you, if you work in such a system, you are going to have 99% tendency to also behave like them, because you'll be tempted. Just like throwing money on the ground and nobody's watching you, and you work out every day, you work out, the money is still there. Some people can even go, pick that money, it's for you. After some time. But once there's a system drawn around it, everybody will adjust. Because we have laws, we are going to strengthen our judiciary. We begin to see for the first time people who commit crime being punished. We begin to see people being sacked. When things like that happen, naturally, why is it that these guys you're talking about, why is that when they travel to other countries, they don't steal there? Because they have now gotten to a place with a system. Nigerians will adjust. It might take some level of difficulty because it's a psychical and a behavioral pattern change, but it will happen over a very short period of time.
All right, so that's an interesting way to go about it. And let's talk about now to one of your main focuses, education. It said that on February 8, 2022, you launched a 2 billion naira education scholarship trust fund for entertainers in the entertainment industry. This is education in entertainment, which is, I think, quite innovative. But generally, what is also your plan, for education? Because you seem to be very passionate about it. So I envision people being most concerned to hear how or what you plan to do. What is that new thing, that different thing that is coming around under your administration? The quality of education index is one of the factors used in determining developed countries. Country with poor education, like Nigeria, we are a country with poor education, largely. It said that our country is underdeveloped. Not just education alone is one of the major. So what we'll be doing is what we've been doing privately. We are going to make education a national necessity for Nigeria.
It's going to be compulsory that Nigerians are educated. It's going to be capital. There will be not necessarily capital. There will be punishment for parents who do not send their children to school, because we're going to make education to secondary school free. Yes, we're going to do that. And because we're already doing that privately, I have set up educational system privately, and I'm making it free. If I can do that privately, now imagine what we'll do when we come into government. Because we see education as a priority. We see education as a fundamental input to Nigerians. Nigerians are smart, but we are fortunate that many Nigerians don't have prerequisite knowledge. That's why it's even difficult for us to even choose a leader. When you don't have knowledge to know, when you don't have knowledge to decipher, knowledge to decide, you will only be fed by whatsoever it is, and you decide with that. You would not have the ability to research. Our universities are not researching. We are not even a nation of research. We are supposed to research to know in the next 10 years, how do we solve problem of hunger? How do we solve problem of this? You invest so much in research, not just in the university, to professional organizations, professional bodies, to help build your nation forward. Research in medical, research in agriculture, research in education. State like Zamfara, who has been education has been shut down for 3 years due to insecurity. We must also invest hugely in digital education. We are going to work with NBC, because education starts from when a child is giving birth until a man dies. So when a child is giving birth, what kind of education does he have? Formal education, education of exposure to the environment, usually from TV and radio. We must start working with the NBC to ensure that they have TV stations that are content-driven to teach children at home. That is how it works everywhere. In South Korea, in US, in Canada, children from 2 to 4 mostly stay at home. They have stations that are educative. Yes, we know we have power problem. We're going to solve that. Then in the kindergarten, we need to start redrafting our curriculum. I've gone through a lot of curriculum and see that there are so many outdated curriculum that need to be from, and the way we even teach, our methodology of teaching. If you go to countries like India, they have programs like Abacus, where children of 6 years can recite, can tell you large, arithmetics within 2 seconds. We need to start having our own dynamism system. That was watching, this mathematical guru, Chike, was trying to do, to make you know that mathematics is the way of life. You don't need to solve a problem just by one. There are so many ways in solving a problem and getting the same solution. But I think it was short. It was kept quiet because there was not so much investment in it. So we're going to look at from the tender age to primary school to secondary school down to the university. University, which has proven to become a major problem, where schools are on strike recently. Professors were paid half salary. I think while I was coming, I didn't read the news. I think the federal government reversed to, I don't know, maybe they reversed in paying them. We don't need that. I believe that education, there is no too much money, too much to educate people. Yes, if you want to, if you believe education is expensive, then you try ignorance. And when you have ignorant population, you have half-baked educated graduate out there who cannot build your country. Your engineers will be quack. Your medical doctors will kill your people when they go to the hospital. Your teachers are going to teach rubbish. Have you seen teachers in the north and south of Nigeria? Many teachers need to be taught because they cannot even teach. So they teach you rubbish. You produce rubbish. You become a country that has nothing. So we must invest hugely in retraining of our teacher, in training, giving them exposure. The other time we were in the US, and we were told that one of the biggest challenges with students from Africa who studied abroad is exposure. Exposure is part of education. No matter how ready you are, if you don't have exposure, innovation, you are not educated. You see Nigerians who want to use elevator in the US, they shout. You know why? Because they've not seen an elevator before. Instead, in the north, there are some states that don't have a single elevator. So it's not our fault. Well, we need to start looking at education beyond just the 4 walls of the classroom. How do we even make our environment start educating us? By exposing our mind. It's key. It's about education is about the mind. It's about educating the mind by every means. So looking at the primary, secondary, university, today I was looking for a section where I would just talk about education only, and we'll be able to dissect to showing us that Nigeria can actually get there. The Ghana alone is earning about $1 billion from Nigerians migrating to Ghana to study. $1 billion. $1 billion is more than our budget for education as a nation. There's what I know that we're going to do to education. That education by itself can produce so much money for Nigeria compared to what the oil and gas is producing. We know that. We have recommended that to the Ministry of Education because I sat on the board of ASIC. I'm the only black man that sits on the board of ASIC in the UK. ASIC is Accreditation Service for International Colleges, like the UNUC we have privately in the UK. I understand this deeply. We've worked with so many organizations over the world to help them reformat, redraft and standardize the education system. We can do same for Nigeria.
That is very interesting, and I do hope you get another opportunity to expand more. But let's quickly run through. We've got down pat, I think, most of your plans for the country. Let's talk a little bit now about your chances. You're with the Accord Party, you're the youngest candidate. What's your plan to topple the bigger parties who have so much money to throw around for campaigns and all that? And also, what's the update on your campaign? You know, campaigns started officially about a month or two ago. So what's the update on that?
Yeah, generally, we all have our strategy. And strategy remains strategy when it's kept secret. So we know that we have 176,000 polling units plus. What we are doing basically is to get our grassroots down, get our polling unit agents, get our people to vote. We have our statistics we are working on. We are probably looking at getting about 18 million votes, and we are working that through strategy, not through popularity. So we are looking at our figures, and we are working seriously on that. We also understand that there are candidates who many Nigerians refer to the old us, the bigger ones. Not really us, because we are new in the political scene. But we are not new to Nigeria, we are not new to empowerment, we are not new to people. So, I think it's a challenge. The challenge is this, and it's a challenge that we constantly want to engage in. Today I released a publication where we pleaded with Media House to also give fair coverage to all candidates. I know it's not going to be easy, because you see some candidates who have spent 30, 40 years in the political scene. Politics is not like entertainment where a person will just come in today and is going to be everywhere. But we have looked at that challenge, and we believe the best way we can fight it is, well, we continue our political famosity, but more importantly, we work towards getting the votes, which is what we are doing. And campaign have started. We will be launching our manifesto sometimes next week. And immediately after that, we are also going to release our campaign calendar. We'll be going around, but we've been going around all over Nigeria. But that is a tradition. Everybody must do the same thing as every other person. But if you watch, even the other parties, which many of you refer to as the bigger party, which to me, they are not bigger. Every party is the same. We've been there for 16 years as PDP and the rest of them. And the only difference is that some of these parties have clinched more offices than every other party. So is that even many of them that started campaign, many of them suspended it. Many of them who released manifesto withdrew it. We don't want to appear to Nigerians as unserious party or unserious candidate. I should be one of the most educated candidates right there, and I don't want to make academic blunder when it comes to manifesto. I want my manifesto to be top notch. We've looked at what we want. We don't want to promise Nigeria what we cannot do. Just like what we have in this administration, having manifesto like 1 naira will be $1. Today, 1 naira is not $1, So we don't want to give promises. As a matter of fact, I want to under-promise and over-perform. Thank you.
All right, just one final question. As a matter of curiosity, the SERAP and the body actually made an open call to all candidates to openly declare their assets. Is that something you'll be considering? Because a lot of people know other things you're involved in, and the amount of money that goes into some of the educational grants and opportunities you present to young people, and they might be wondering, where are you getting that from? As some people would say, who's funding you? So the question is that something you would consider? Would you be declaring your assets?
Why not? This is a public office, and we are expected to declare our personal assets. What's our personal assets? I just told you of a Nigerian guy who is probably your age, who sold an apple, who sold a help to Apple for $1 billion. See, even while seated here, I can teach you how you can generate $1 billion in 1 year just by your knowledge. So, and everybody will start asking, where do you see this money? There's wealth everywhere. It depends on how you want to analyze. So I'm very open to such declaration. It's as a matter of fact, everybody should do that, because if you are not transparent into governance, then it means that you have a lot to hide. So Nigeria should even watch that as a pointer that any leader that wants to stylishly avoid it or has a lot of things is hiding. I'm 100% open to declaring whatsoever we have. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Christopher Imumolen.
Thank
And I'll
you.
take you up on that offer to learn how to make $1 billion in 1 year.
No, it's okay.
Some
Yeah.
other
We're gonna teach you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the
Thank
program.
you.
Thank you.
God bless you.